The body camera footage would later show exactly what happened that March 12, 2023, just outside Atlanta, Georgia. A bright afternoon, quiet streets, sunlight glinting off parked cars. A black man sits calmly inside his sedan, parked along a residential curb. Moments later, a young white officer walks up, confident, stern, hand resting near his holster. He says the car matches the description of a stolen vehicle and demands ID. The man replies calmly, "Officer, I've done nothing wrong." The officer's tone sharpens, his voice rising, threats spilling out. When the driver still refuses, the officer reaches for his weapon. That's when the man in the car slowly pulls something from his pocket, a police badge. He looks the officer in the eye and says, "I'm Captain Raymond Cole, Atlanta PD, and your career just ended." What happened next would expose a department's training failure and change one rookie's life forever. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light.
March 12th started like any other Sunday in the Cascade Heights neighborhood of Atlanta. Captain Raymond Cole, a 22-year veteran of the Atlanta Police Department, had just finished a morning workout at his local gym. Still in civilian clothes, a simple gray polo and jeans, he pulled his unmarked gray sedan to the curb outside his sister's house. He was early. She wasn't home yet, so he waited, engine off, windows down, scrolling through his phone. The street was peaceful. Kids on bikes in the distance, a dog barking somewhere. The kind of Atlanta suburb where nothing ever really happens. Until it did. At 2:47 p.m., Officer Ethan Ward's patrol car rounded the corner. Ward was 24 years old, 6 months out of the academy, eager, ambitious, the kind of rookie who listened to police scanner chatter even on his days off. That morning, dispatch had put out a bolo, "Be on the lookout," for a stolen gray sedan, last seen somewhere in the metro area. Details were vague, make and model uncertain, but Ward had been listening. And when he saw Cole's car, something clicked in his mind. His dash cam footage shows him slowing down, circling the block once, then pulling up behind the parked sedan. He radios in, voice steady with manufactured confidence. "Dispatch, this is Unit 47. I've got a possible stolen gray sedan, Georgia plates, occupied by one male. Running a check now." Dispatch responds, "Copy that, 47. Stand by." Ward doesn't wait. He steps out of his vehicle, adjusting his belt, squaring his shoulders. His body camera activates automatically. The view is chest level, slightly bouncing as he walks. His breathing is audible, quick, shallow. Adrenaline. He approaches the driver's side window. The man inside doesn't look up right away. He's calm. Too calm, Ward thinks. Suspicious. Ward taps on the glass with 2 fingers. "Afternoon, sir." The man looks up. He's in his mid-40s, clean-cut, salt-and-pepper beard. His expression is neutral, patient. "Afternoon, officer," the man says. "Can I see your license and registration?" The man tilts his head slightly. "Is there a reason you're stopping me?" "I'm parked." Ward stiffens. He doesn't like the question. It feels like a challenge. "This vehicle matches the description of a stolen car reported earlier. License and registration now." The man inside exhales slowly. He doesn't reach for his glove box. He doesn't move at all. "Officer," he says, his tone measured, "I haven't done anything wrong. This is my car. I'm sitting here waiting for my sister." Ward's jaw tightens. His hand drifts toward his holster, not grabbing it, just resting near it. A gesture. A signal. "Sir, I'm not going to ask you again, and I'm not going to comply with an illegal stop." The words hang in the air. Ward's pulse quickens. He's been trained for this. Non-compliance, he thinks. Defiance. He circles around the front of the car, eyes scanning the interior, looking for something, anything. The man inside remains perfectly still. Ward's radio crackles. Dispatch comes back. "Unit 47, no match on those plates. Registered owner is a Raymond Cole, Atlanta address. No warrants." Ward ignores it. Or maybe he doesn't hear it clearly. He's too focused now, too invested. He returns to the driver's side window, leaning in closer. Step out of the vehicle. I'm not stepping out. I've done nothing wrong. You're refusing a lawful order. This isn't a lawful order. You have no probable cause. Ward's face flushes. His voice rises. Don't tell me how to do my job. A neighbor across the street opens her front door. Phone in hand, she starts recording. The man in the car sees her. He doesn't acknowledge her, but he knows she's there. Witnesses matter. Ward sees her too. It makes him angrier. Sir, if you don't comply right now, I will forcibly remove you from this vehicle. The man meets his eyes through the window. His voice is calm, dangerously calm. Officer, you're making a mistake. The only mistake here is yours. Ward steps back, hand now fully on his holster. Last chance. Get out. Silence. Then, slowly, the man reaches for the door handle.
The car door opens. The man steps out, hands visible, movements slow and deliberate. He's taller than Ward expected, 6'2", solid build, the kind of presence that fills space without trying. Ward takes a half step back, hands still on his weapon. Hands where I can see them, Ward says, voice tight. They are where you can see them, the man replies. Turn around, hands on the vehicle. The man doesn't move. He just stands there, looking at Ward. Not defiant, not scared, just waiting. Did you hear me? Ward snaps. I heard you. Then do it. A beat. The man sighs. You really don't want to do this. Do what? My job? No. Ruin your career. Ward's face twists. He hears arrogance, entitlement, everything he was taught to push back against. The kind of person who thinks they're above the law. Turn around. The man finally complies, placing his hands lightly on the roof of the car. But his posture is wrong. Not submissive, not tense, just tolerant. Ward moves in, reaching for his cuffs. You're being detained for failure to comply with a lawful— It isn't lawful, the man interrupts, his voice still calm. And you know it. I said, what you said doesn't matter if it's not legal. Ward's hand shakes. He's never had someone talk to him like this, correct him, lecture him. He grabs the man's wrist, pulling it behind his back. You have the right to— I know my rights, officer. Do you know yours? The question stops Ward cold. There's something in the man's tone. Not anger, not fear. Something else. Something that makes Ward's stomach turn. He hesitates. The neighbor across the street is still filming. Her phone is raised high, angle clear. Ward can see her in his peripheral vision. He releases the man's wrist. Stay right there, Ward says, stepping back. He pulls out his radio. Dispatch, I need a supervisor at my location. Now. Copy 47. What's the situation? Ward pauses. He doesn't know how to answer that. He's supposed to say, suspect in custody, or traffic stop, or something procedural. But this doesn't feel like any of those things. Just send someone, he says. The man turns around slowly, hands still visible. You called for a supervisor. Good. That's the first smart thing you've done today. Ward's face burns. You think you're clever? I think you're out of your depth. Who the hell do you think you are? The man's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his eyes. A flicker of something. Pity, maybe, or disappointment. That's the question, isn't it? He says quietly. Ward doesn't understand. He's losing control of the situation, and he knows it. His training is screaming at him. Secure the suspect, maintain authority, control the scene. But nothing is working. The man isn't acting like a suspect. He's acting like someone who knows exactly what's happening. And that terrifies Ward more than anything. Turn back around, Ward says, trying to regain his footing. Hands on the car. We're done with that. You don't get to decide when we're done. Actually, his tone sharpens for the first time. I do. The standoff stretches. Seconds feel like minutes. Ward's mind races. This was supposed to be simple. A stolen car. A routine stop. A chance to prove himself. But now it's spiraling. The neighbor is filming. The man is defiant. His supervisor is coming, and Ward has no idea what to say when they arrive. The man seems to read his mind.
You can still walk this back, he says quieter now. Apologize. Say it was a misunderstanding. Move on. Ward's pride flares. I'm not apologizing for doing my job. Then you're not doing your job. You're abusing your authority. I'm not. You pulled me over for no reason. You demanded ID without cause. You threatened me with arrest for refusing an illegal order. And now you're standing here, hand on your weapon, acting like I'm the criminal. The words land like punches. Ward wants to argue, wants to defend himself, but the truth is sitting heavy in his chest. He doesn't have a good answer. The car matched a description, he says weakly. What description? Make? Model? Color? Did you even ask dispatch for specifics? Ward says nothing. You didn't, did you? You saw a black man in a gray car and decided that was enough. That's exactly what happened. The neighbor's phone is still recording. Ward can feel it, the weight of the lens, the permanence of the moment. He wants to leave, wants to get back in his patrol car and drive away, pretend this never happened. But he can't, because the man is still standing there, watching him, waiting. Who are you? Ward asks finally, his voice barely above a whisper. The man reaches into his pocket. Ward's hand flies to his holster. Don't relax, he says, moving slowly. You wanted ID. Here it is. He pulls something out. Not a wallet, not a driver's license. A badge. Gold. Heavy. Engraved. Ward's breath catches. The man holds it up, letting the sunlight catch the metal. Captain Raymond Cole, he says, his voice cold and steady. Atlanta Police Department. Badge number 4076. Ward's world stops.
For a moment, neither of them moves. Ward stares at the badge, then at the man holding it, then back at the badge. His mouth opens. No sound comes out. Captain Cole lowers the badge, slipping it back into his pocket. His eyes never leave Ward's face. So, Cole says, his voice quiet but sharp, do you still want to arrest me? Ward's hand drops from his holster. His face has gone pale. Sir, I didn't know. You didn't know, Cole repeats, the words heavy with meaning. You didn't know because you didn't ask. You didn't check. You didn't think. The car, the description. There was no description that matched my car. You heard gray sedan on the scanner and saw me sitting here and made an assumption. Ward's throat tightens. He can feel the weight of it now, the magnitude of what he's done. Captain, I'm sorry, You threatened your commanding officer. You demanded I comply with an illegal stop. You put your hand on your weapon. You treated me like a criminal. I didn't mean... What you meant doesn't matter. What you did matters. The neighbor across the street is still filming. Her phone captures every second. Ward can see her out of the corner of his eye, and the realization hits him like a freight train. This is on camera. All of it. His career, 6 months of pride and ambition and proving himself, is on camera, being dismantled in real time. Sir, I didn't know who you were. And if I wasn't a captain, if I was just a civilian, would that make what you did okay? Ward has no answer. That's the problem. You think the badge makes a difference. You think because I have authority, this is a bigger deal. But it shouldn't be. You shouldn't treat anyone the way you just treated me. The words settle like stones. A patrol car turns the corner. Ward's supervisor arriving on scene. Captain Cole sees it. He steps back from his car, hands still visible, body language deliberately non-threatening. He's been on the other side of this too many times. He knows how to de-escalate. Sergeant Linda Martinez steps out of her vehicle, eyes sweeping the scene. She's been on the force for 15 years, seen everything, and the moment she sees Cole, her face changes. Captain, she says, confused.
"Sergeant Martinez," he says, his tone professional now, formal. "Your officer here initiated a stop on my vehicle without probable cause, demanded my identification without legal grounds, and threatened me with arrest when I refused to comply with his illegal orders." Martinez's eyes snap to Ward. Her expression hardens. "Ward, what the hell did you do?" Ward can't speak. His throat has closed up. Cole continues, his voice steady. "I need you to file an official report. I want this documented. Body camera footage, dash cam, everything." "Yes, sir," Martinez says immediately. She turns to Ward, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Get in your vehicle now. Don't say another word." Ward stumbles toward his patrol car, legs shaking. Martinez approaches Cole, her face a mixture of anger and embarrassment. "Captain, I am so sorry. I don't know what he was thinking." "He wasn't thinking. That's the problem." He glances toward the neighbor who's still recording. He gives her a small nod, acknowledgement, gratitude even, evidence. Martinez follows his gaze. She sees the phone. Her jaw tightens. "This is going to be a mess," she mutters. "It already is," he says. He walks back to his car, opens the door, and sits in the driver's seat. He doesn't drive away. Not yet. He just sits there, hands on the steering wheel, staring straight ahead. 22 years on the force, 2 decades of service, community outreach programs, mentoring young officers, training seminars on bias and de-escalation. And still he gets stopped. Still he gets questioned. Still he has to prove he belongs. His phone buzzes. A text from his sister. "Running late. Be there in 10. He doesn't respond. He just sits there, breathing slowly, letting the adrenaline drain out of his system. Behind him, Sergeant Martinez is on her radio, calling it in. The body camera footage will be uploaded within the hour. Internal Affairs will be notified by end of day. And somewhere, across the street, a neighbor's phone is already uploading a video to social media. By tomorrow morning, the world will know what happened here."
The video goes viral in less than 12 hours. Rookie cop threatens black police captain during routine stop. 6 million views by Monday morning. 10 million by Tuesday. News outlets pick it up. Local first, then national. CNN runs a segment. Fox News brings in pundits. Social media explodes. The Atlanta Police Department scrambles. Internal Affairs opens an investigation within 24 hours. Officer Ethan Ward is placed on administrative leave pending review. The body camera footage is analyzed frame by frame. Statements are taken. Protocols are reviewed. The mayor's office releases a statement. "We are deeply troubled by the incident involving Captain Raymond Cole and Officer Ethan Ward. The Atlanta Police Department is committed to transparency and accountability. A full investigation is underway, and appropriate action will be taken." Captain Cole says nothing publicly. He shows up for work Monday morning, same as always. Sits at his desk, reviews reports, answers emails. Colleagues avoid eye contact in the hallways, unsure what to say. Some officers are angry at Ward for embarrassing the department, for making them all look bad. Others are defensive of a rookie who made a mistake, who was just trying to do his job. And some, quietly, are grateful that someone finally said what needed to be said, that the problem isn't just one bad officer, it's the system that trained him. By Wednesday, the pressure becomes too much. The department schedules a press conference. Chief of Police Marcus Thompson stands at a podium, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions. "We have completed our preliminary review," Thompson says, his voice measured. "Officer Ward's actions were inconsistent with our training and policies. He initiated the stop without reasonable suspicion, escalated the situation unnecessarily, and failed to exercise appropriate judgment." A reporter shouts, "Will he be fired?" Thompson pauses. "Officer Ward has been suspended without pay pending the conclusion of the investigation. Disciplinary action will follow." Another reporter, has Captain Cole made a statement? Captain Cole has declined to comment publicly, but he has cooperated fully with the investigation. Is this about race? The question hangs in the air. Thompson takes a breath. This is about an officer who saw a black man in a car and made assumptions. We can call it implicit bias, we can call it poor training, we can call it whatever we want. But yes, race was a factor, and we have to own that. The press conference ends. The news cycle continues. Civil rights organizations demand systemic reform. Community activists organize rallies. Online petitions circulate calling for Ward's termination. And through it all, Captain Raymond Cole remains quiet until the department asks him to speak. 3 weeks after the incident, Cole agrees to sit down for an interview with the department's public affairs team. It will be recorded, edited, released strategically. The interviewer is careful, respectful. Captain Cole, thank you for sitting down with us. Can you walk us through what you were thinking during the stop? Cole leans back in his chair. He's in uniform now, crisp, professional, the weight of his rank visible on his shoulders. I was thinking, he says slowly, that I've been here before. Not in this exact situation, but close enough. I knew what was happening. I knew how it would end if I reacted the wrong way. You stayed calm. I stayed alive, Cole corrects. There's a difference. The interviewer shifts uncomfortably. What do you want people to understand about what happened? Cole looks directly at the camera. I don't want Officer Ward to be the villain in this story. He's not. He's a symptom. The real problem is the system that taught him to see me as a threat before he saw me as a person. Do you think he should be fired? I think he should be trained. Really trained. Not just taught how to write tickets and make arrests. Taught how to see people, how to question his assumptions, how to recognize when his fear is irrational. And if he can't learn that, Cole's expression hardens, then he has no business wearing a badge. The interview ends. The footage is edited into a 3-minute segment and released on the department's social media channels. It gets 2 million views in the first day. Comments pour in. Some supportive, some angry, some disbelieving. One comment reads, "If this can happen to a captain, imagine what happens to the rest of us." Another, "This is why people don't trust cops." And another, "Captain Cole is a better man than I would have been." Officer Ethan Ward watches the video from his apartment. He's been off the force for a month now, suspended indefinitely. His friends have stopped calling. His family doesn't know what to say. He watches Captain Cole speak, watches him advocate for training, not termination, watches him take the high road. And Ward realizes, maybe for the first time, the depth of what he took from that man. Not just his dignity, not just his peace, his safety. Ward sits in the dark, staring at the screen, and wonders if he can ever come back from this. 6 months later, Officer Ethan Ward officially resigns from the Atlanta Police Department. There's no ceremony, no goodbye party. Just a brief email to Human Resources and a returned badge and service weapon. The department accepts his resignation without comment. Ward doesn't speak to the press, doesn't issue a statement. He just disappears. Some say he moved out of state. Others say he went back to school. No one knows for sure. And frankly, most people stop caring. Captain Raymond Cole, meanwhile, gets promoted. Not immediately, not as some kind of PR stunt, but 6 months after the incident, when the deputy chief position opens up, Cole's name is at the top of the list. He accepts. And the first thing he does in his new role is overhaul the department's training program. He brings in outside consultants, psychologists, civil rights experts, former officers who left the force because of the very issues Cole is trying to fix. Together, they design a new curriculum. It's not just about de-escalation tactics or implicit bias workshops, though those are part of it. It's about something deeper, empathy, understanding that the person on the other side of the badge is someone's father, someone's son, someone's friend, that fear can make you see threats where there are none, that power without accountability is just tyranny in uniform. The program launches in January 2024. Every rookie goes through it. Every veteran is required to retrain. Some officers resist.
They call it soft. They say it's unnecessary, that it coddles criminals and makes cops second-guess themselves. But Cole doesn't budge. If you can't see the humanity in the people you're sworn to protect, then you shouldn't be here, he tells a room full of skeptical officers. The resistance fades, slowly, not because people suddenly agree, but because the culture shifts. New rookies come in with different expectations. Body cameras become standard. Accountability becomes the norm, not the exception. And the community starts to notice. Complaints against officers drop by 18% in the first year. Use of force incidents decline. Community trust, measured by surveys and town halls, begins to climb. It's not perfect, it's not fixed, but it's better. One afternoon, almost a year after the incident, Captain Cole, now Deputy Chief Cole, is sitting in his office when there's a knock on the door. "Come in," he says, not looking up from his paperwork. The door opens. A young officer steps inside, nervous, holding a folder. "Sir, I wanted to thank you," the officer says. Cole looks up. He doesn't recognize the kid, fresh out of the academy probably. "For what?" Cole asks. "For the training program, the stuff on bias and assumptions. It made me realize some things about myself, things I didn't want to see." Cole sets down his pen. "Like what?" he asks. The officer hesitates. "Like how easy it is to see what you expect to see instead of what's actually there." Cole nods slowly. "That's a hard lesson." "Yeah, but I'm glad I learned it now instead of ruining someone's life." The officer swallows. "Yeah." Cole stands, walking around his desk. He extends his hand. "Keep learning. Keep questioning yourself. That's the job." The officer shakes his hand, relief flooding his face. "Yes, sir." As the officer leaves, Cole sits back down, staring at the closed door. He thinks about Ethan Ward sometimes, wonders where he is, wonders if he learned anything. He hopes so. Because at the end of the day, Cole doesn't want revenge. He doesn't want apologies. He just wants a world where a black man can sit in his car, minding his own business, without being seen as a threat. That's the goal. It's not complicated, but somehow it's still the hardest thing to teach.
The body camera footage from that day in March 2023 is now used in police academies across the country, not as a cautionary tale about what not to do, though it is that, but as a case study in what happens when bias goes unchecked, when training fails, when power is misused. The footage ends with Captain Cole holding up his badge, and every time it's shown, instructors pause the video there and ask the same question. What if he wasn't a captain? What if he was just a man? The answer, of course, is that it shouldn't matter, but it does. And until it doesn't, stories like this will keep happening. The question is, what are we going to do about it? If this story made you think, hit that like button. If it made you uncomfortable, share it. And if you want to see more stories that matter, subscribe. Because the truth doesn't go viral by accident. It goes viral because people like you decide it's worth spreading. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
You fit a description. Give me the ID or you coming with me.
I haven't done anything. I'm not required to show you.
Don't make this harder. Hands where I can see them and get the wallet out. Now.
You really want my ID? Department of Justice, you still detaining me?
The bodycam footage would later show exactly what happened that April 15th, 2023, in the heart of Washington, D.C. Officer Eric Donnelly had been on the job for just over a year when he made the mistake that would end his career and cost the department $9 million. He saw a black man walking toward his car in a quiet residential neighborhood. No call, no crime, no reason to stop him. But Donnelly did, because in his mind, something looked off. He demanded ID, raising his voice, circling the man like a suspect. The man calmly replied, "I didn't do anything wrong." The cop kept pushing, his tone turning threatening. That man was Attorney Malcolm Reeves, a respected federal lawyer who had spent nearly 2 decades defending constitutional rights in Washington courtrooms. What happened next would explode into headlines, spark a DOJ inquiry, and permanently stain the badge Donnelly once wore. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light. Georgetown, Washington, D.C., 4:23 p.m. The Axon body camera shows a quiet residential street. Tree-lined. Historic brownstones with iron gates. Cars parked along both sides. The kind of neighborhood where diplomats, lawyers, and politicians live. Where nothing dramatic happens. The afternoon light was soft. A few pedestrians walked past. A dog barked somewhere in the distance. Officer Eric Donnelly's patrol car moved slowly down the street, his bodycam capturing the steady rhythm of routine patrol. Then it stopped. The camera showed a black man, mid-30s, well-dressed in a navy suit and tie, walking toward a silver Audi A6 parked curbside. Briefcase in hand. Keys out. Moving with purpose. The bodycam audio captured Donnelly's voice, quiet, talking to himself. Let's see what this is about. There was no dispatch call, no radio alert, no reported crime, just a black man walking to his car. And in Officer Eric Donnelly's mind, that was enough to warrant investigation. Attorney Malcolm Reeves had been with the U.S. Department of Justice for 17 years. 17 years working civil rights enforcement, constitutional litigation, and federal appellate cases. He'd argued before circuit courts. He'd defended voting rights, housing discrimination protections, and equal access to education. His colleagues called him brilliant. His opponents called him relentless. His record spoke for itself. Dozens of successful cases, multiple commendations, a reputation built on precision and principle. But that Thursday afternoon, Malcolm Reeves wasn't thinking about courtrooms or constitutional law. He was thinking about getting home. He'd just left a meeting at the Prettyman courthouse. His daughter had a soccer game at 6 p.m. His wife was making dinner. He wanted to change out of his suit, decompress, and be present for his family. He walked to his car, clicked the unlock button, and reached for the door handle. Hey, where you headed? Malcolm turned and saw the patrol car. The uniformed officer stepping out. The body camera light blinking red. His first thought was practical. Is there a security issue in the neighborhood? His second thought was cautious. Stay calm. Stay polite. This will be over in a minute. He didn't know it would be over in an hour, and that it would cost Officer Donnelly his career. Officer Eric Donnelly was 25 years old and had been with the Metropolitan Police Department of the District of Columbia for 13 months. 13 months of wanting to prove himself. 13 months of believing that assertiveness meant strength and that questioning people meant being thorough. His training officer had noted in evaluations. Officer Donnelly displays initiative but lacks discernment in determining when intervention is appropriate. Tends to initiate contact based on perception rather than observable facts. But Donnelly had been cleared for solo patrol anyway. That afternoon, he'd been driving through Georgetown when he saw Malcolm walking to his car. A black man, in a suit, in this neighborhood, getting into a luxury vehicle. Something about it didn't sit right with Donnelly. He couldn't articulate what. He couldn't point to any specific behavior that suggested criminality. But the image, a black man in Georgetown, alone, at an expensive car, triggered something in his mind. Not evidence. Not reasonable suspicion. Just a feeling that this person didn't belong. And Donnelly decided to act on that feeling. The bodycam captured Donnelly's approach. His posture was rigid. His hand near his belt. His expression set. Where you headed? Donnelly asked, his tone immediately sharp. Malcolm kept his voice calm. Just heading home, officer. Is there a problem? Can I see some ID? Malcolm frowned slightly. Can I ask why you're requesting identification? I'm conducting a check. ID, please. A check for what? I'm walking to my own car. Donnelly stepped closer. Is this your car? Malcolm's jaw tightened. Yes. It's registered in my name. You sure about that? And there it was. The implication. The assumption. Malcolm had spent his entire career defending people against exactly this kind of profiling. He knew the law. He knew his rights. And he knew what was happening. Officer, are you stopping me because you think I stole this car? I'm verifying ownership. Based on what? What did I do that gave you reasonable suspicion? Donnelly's tone hardened. Don't get smart with me. Show me your ID. I'm not being smart. I'm asking a legitimate question. What crime do you suspect me of committing? You're refusing a lawful order. It's not a lawful order if you don't have reasonable suspicion. And you don't. The bodycam captured the shift in Donnelly's demeanor. From authoritative to defensive. From controlled to agitated. Because Malcolm was right. And Donnelly knew it. There was no call. No complaint. No visible offense. But in Officer Donnelly's mind, Walking while black was enough to raise suspicion. The body cam footage would later be analyzed by use of force experts, civil rights attorneys, and the Department of Justice. All of them would come to the same conclusion. Officer Donnelly had no legal basis to stop Malcolm Reeves. No reasonable suspicion. No probable cause. No justification under the Fourth Amendment. He stopped him because of race. Because of perception. Because of bias. And what happened next turned that unlawful stop into a civil rights violation that would cost millions. Officer Donnelly began circling Malcolm, his body language aggressive, his questions rapid fire. Whose car is this really? I told you. It's mine. Where'd you get it? Malcolm's patience was wearing thin. I purchased it. With my own money. From a dealership. It's registered in my name. I have the title at home. You live around here? I live 3 blocks away. What do you do? I'm an attorney. Donnelly's expression shifted, not to understanding, but to skepticism. An attorney? Where? Department of Justice. Donnelly laughed. Short. Dismissive. Sure you are. Malcolm's voice stayed calm, but there was steel underneath. Officer, I've answered your questions. I've been cooperative. But I need you to understand. You don't have reasonable suspicion to detain me. I haven't committed any crime. I'm going to get in my car and leave. No, you're not. Excuse me. You're not leaving until I verify who you are. I'm not required to provide ID when I'm not committing a crime. That's established law. I decide what the law is here. Malcolm stared at him. No, you don't. The Constitution does. And that was the line that broke Donnelly's control. The body cam captured the escalation in real time. Donnelly grabbed Malcolm's arm. Turn around. Malcolm pulled back, not violently, but firmly. Don't touch me. You're being detained. For what? Obstruction. Obstruction of what? I haven't obstructed anything. You're refusing to cooperate. I'm refusing an unlawful order. There's a difference. Donnelly pulled out his handcuffs. Last chance. Turn around. Malcolm looked directly into the body cam, his voice clear and deliberate. For the record, I am Attorney Malcolm Reeves, U.S. Department of Justice. I am standing beside my own vehicle. I have committed no crime. This officer has no reasonable suspicion. And what he's about to do is illegal. Donnelly grabbed Malcolm's wrist and yanked his arm behind his back. Malcolm didn't resist physically. He knew better. But he continued speaking, his voice steady despite the adrenaline. You're violating my Fourth Amendment rights. You're committing unlawful detention. And this is all being recorded. The handcuffs clicked into place. A few pedestrians had stopped to watch. One pulled out a phone and started recording. Donnelly pushed Malcolm against the car, his hands moving quickly, pat down, checking pockets. What are you doing? Malcolm asked. Search incident to arrest. You haven't arrested me. And even if you had, you need probable cause for a search. Donnelly's hand went into Malcolm's inside jacket pocket and pulled out a black leather wallet. He opened it and froze. The body cam captured the moment perfectly. Inside the wallet was a federal identification badge. Gold. Official. Department of Justice seal. Attorney Malcolm Reeves. Civil Rights Division. U.S. Department of Justice. Donnelly's breathing quickened. His hand holding the badge started to shake. Wait, what is this? Malcolm's voice was cold. That's my government ID. I'm an attorney with the Department of Justice. Like I told you. Multiple times. Silence. The body cam audio captured Donnelly's whisper. Shit. Malcolm turned his head slightly, looking back at Donnelly. You just illegally arrested a federal attorney. On camera. With witnesses. For no crime. Based solely on the color of my skin. Donnelly stood frozen, still holding the badge, his mind clearly racing through the implications. Malcolm continued, his voice steady. You're going to uncuff me now, and then you're going to call your supervisor. Because what you just did is a federal civil rights violation, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows about it. Donnelly didn't move for several seconds. Then, slowly, he unlocked the handcuffs. Malcolm pulled his hands forward, rubbing his wrists where the metal had dug into his skin. He took his badge back and put it in his pocket. What's your badge number? Malcolm asked. Donnelly's voice was barely audible. 6-3-4-8. And your supervisor's name? Captain Reynolds. Malcolm pulled out his phone and started typing. I'm documenting everything. Date, time, location, your badge number, the witnesses. And I'm filing a formal complaint the moment I get home. A second patrol car pulled up. A more senior officer, Sergeant Patricia Monroe, stepped out, and immediately sensed the tension. "What's going on here?" Monroe asked. Malcolm held up his Department of Justice badge. "I'm Attorney Malcolm Reeves, DOJ Civil Rights Division. Your officer stopped me without reasonable suspicion, demanded ID without legal justification, and arrested me when I asserted my constitutional rights." The entire encounter is on his body camera. Monroe's expression shifted from confusion to alarm. She looked at Donnelly. "Is this true?" Donnelly stammered. I thought. "Did you have reasonable suspicion to stop him?" "He was walking toward a car." "That's not a crime." "Did you have reasonable suspicion of criminal activity?" Silence. Monroe turned to Malcolm. "Attorney Reeves, I apologize. This should not have happened." Malcolm's voice was firm. "An apology isn't enough. Your officer racially profiled me, violated my rights, and illegally arrested me. I want a formal investigation. I want disciplinary action, and I'm pursuing legal action." Monroe nodded grimly. "You have every right to do so. I'll personally ensure this is reported to Internal Affairs." Malcolm looked at Donnelly one more time. "You saw a black man in a suit and assumed I was a criminal. You didn't see a federal attorney. You didn't see someone who spent 17 years defending civil rights. You just saw my skin color, and you acted on your bias." Donnelly couldn't meet his eyes. Malcolm got into his car and drove away, his hands still shaking with adrenaline and anger, leaving Donnelly standing on the street, realizing that his 13-month career was effectively over. By 9 p.m., the footage had leaked. Not the body cam. That was being held by Internal Affairs. But the witness cell phone video, shot from across the street, showing the handcuffing, the search, Malcolm's calm statements, Donnelly's realization. By midnight, it was on social media. Clips circulating on Twitter under hashtag Justice for Malcolm. Reshared on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. By the next morning, it was on the news. Federal attorney illegally arrested by D.C. police. DOJ lawyer detained without cause in Georgetown. Civil rights violation caught on camera. The Washington Post ran a front-page story. The New York Times picked it up. CNN featured legal experts analyzing the video. The consensus was unanimous. Officer Donnelly had committed an egregious violation of Malcolm Reeves's constitutional rights. And he'd done it to the wrong person, someone who knew the law better than most judges. The Department of Justice moved quickly. The Office of Professional Responsibility opened an internal inquiry. The Civil Rights Division, Malcolm's own division, issued a statement calling the incident deeply concerning and inconsistent with the constitutional protections all Americans deserve. The FBI Civil Rights Unit began a preliminary investigation into whether Donnelly's actions constituted a pattern or practice of discrimination. The U.S. Attorney's Office for D.C. reviewed the case to determine whether federal criminal charges were appropriate. The pressure was immense. Federal, public, institutional, and the Metropolitan Police Department had no defense. Internal Affairs reviewed Donnelly's body camera footage and came to an immediate conclusion. The stop was unlawful, the arrest was unjustified, and the entire encounter violated department policy and constitutional law. They also pulled Donnelly's service record and found troubling patterns. In 13 months, he'd initiated 42 stops. 34 involved people of color. Only 6 resulted in citations or arrests. The rest were deemed investigatory, but produced no evidence of crime. The pattern was clear. Donnelly had been profiling consistently. The department just hadn't been paying attention. Malcolm Reeves gave a statement to the press 3 days after the incident. He stood on the courthouse steps, his expression serious but composed. "What happened to me wasn't unique. It happens every day to Black Americans who don't have badges, who don't have law degrees, who don't have institutional backing. The only difference is I had the resources to fight back. But this case isn't about me. It's about what happens when authority goes unchecked. When officers make assumptions based on skin color rather than evidence. When bias is allowed to operate behind a badge. I'm pursuing legal action not for revenge, but for accountability. Because if this can happen to a federal attorney in broad daylight in Georgetown, it can happen to anyone. And that's not acceptable." The statement was measured, professional, devastating. And it set the tone for what came next. Malcolm filed a federal civil rights lawsuit 4 months after the incident. The complaint named Officer Eric Donnelly, Sergeant Patricia Monroe, for inadequate supervision, and the District of Columbia as defendants. The claims were comprehensive. Fourth Amendment violation, unlawful seizure and arrest without probable cause. 14th Amendment violation, racial discrimination violation of D.C. Human Rights Act. False arrest and false imprisonment. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Municipal liability for inadequate training and supervision. The evidence was overwhelming. Body camera footage. Witness video. Donnelly's service record showing a pattern of discriminatory stops. Expert testimony on racial profiling. And the plaintiff was a federal attorney who could argue his own case if necessary. The city's attorneys reviewed the evidence and came to a swift conclusion. Settlement was the only option. They couldn't win at trial. They couldn't discredit Malcolm. They couldn't explain away Donnelly's actions. Negotiations began. Initial offer, $2 million. Malcolm's attorneys rejected it. Second offer, $5 million. Rejected again. $9 million, they said, plus termination of Officer Donnelly, plus mandatory reforms, plus independent oversight, plus public acknowledgement of civil rights violation. Non-negotiable. The city agreed. $9 million. One of the largest settlements in D.C. history for an individual civil rights case. Officer Eric Donnelly was terminated 7 months after the incident. The termination letter was final and comprehensive. Officer Donnelly engaged in racial profiling, unlawful detention, and illegal arrest of a federal attorney. He stopped the plaintiff without reasonable suspicion, demanded identification without legal justification, and arrested him for asserting constitutional rights. His actions violated department policy, violated constitutional protections, and exposed the district to significant legal liability. His employment is terminated immediately, and his law enforcement certification is permanently revoked. His name was entered into the National Decertification Index. At 25 years old, 13 months into his career, it was over. Malcolm Reeves returned to work at the Department of Justice. But he was different now. More cautious. More aware of how he moved through the world. More conscious that his federal badge didn't always protect him. And he used his experience. He began speaking at police training academies about constitutional rights and the dangers of racial profiling. He advised on bias reduction programs. He testified before congressional committees about law enforcement accountability. His case became a teaching tool, a reference point, an example of what happens when bias overrides law. The $9 million settlement funded several initiatives. Independent Oversight Board for MPD with investigative authority, mandatory bias training for all officers before solo patrol, real-time body camera review, protocols, public database of stops, searches, and complaints, community advisory panels with policy input. The reforms were significant, but Malcolm knew they weren't enough. Money doesn't change culture, he said in an interview 6 months later. Policies don't change beliefs. Real change requires officers to examine their own biases, to question why they feel suspicion, to recognize that their assumptions aren't evidence. He paused. Officer Donnelly saw me and assumed I was a criminal, not because of what I was doing, but because of what I looked like. That assumption, that automatic link between blackness and criminality, is what we have to dismantle. And that work is harder than any lawsuit. The bodycam footage remains. It's shown in law schools as an example of unlawful detention. It's shown in police academies as a cautionary tale. It's cited in civil rights litigation as precedent. And it serves as a reminder. Entitlement with a badge is still dangerous. Power without restraint still destroys lives. Officer Donnelly had a badge, a gun, and the authority of the state. But he didn't have wisdom. He didn't have discernment. He didn't have the ability to distinguish between his biases and actual evidence. So when he saw Malcolm Reeves walking to his car, he didn't see a federal attorney. He didn't see a civil rights advocate. He didn't see someone who'd spent 17 years defending the Constitution. He only saw a black man. And that was enough to trigger suspicion, escalation, and a legal arrest. In the end, attorney Malcolm Reeves didn't just win a settlement. He exposed a truth that money can't erase. Entitlement with a badge is still dangerous. Power without restraint still destroys lives. And justice isn't automatic. It requires documentation. It requires courage. It requires people like Malcolm who refuse to accept that their rights can be violated simply because of the color of their skin. Justice isn't revenge. It's accountability. And sometimes, it takes a camera and the courage to say no to prove it. Final reflection, 29:30-30:00. Officer Eric Donnelly's career lasted 13 months. His decision to profile Malcolm Reeves lasted 3 minutes. But the consequences will last forever. $9 million paid by taxpayers. A career destroyed. A reputation stained. And a federal attorney who will never forget the day he was handcuffed on a Georgetown street for the crime of walking to his own car. The bodycam footage doesn't lie. It shows exactly what happened. And what it shows is uncomfortable. A black man, doing nothing wrong, stopped by an officer who couldn't see past his own bias. An attorney who knew his rights, violated by an officer who didn't care. A moment of entitlement that cost millions and exposed the truth that America still struggles to accept. Black people are presumed suspicious until proven innocent. And sometimes, not even federal credentials are enough to change that presumption. Malcolm Reeves got justice. But justice came after humiliation, after violation, after having to prove his innocence for doing nothing wrong. And that's the
Afternoon, ma'am. Can I ask what you're doing sitting out here?
Afternoon, officer. I can't see you, sir, but I'm just waiting for the bus.
What's that in your hand? Looks a lot like a weapon.
No, sir. That's my walking stick. I'm blind.
Still, it looks like a weapon to me.
It's just a cane, sir. Helps me find the curb, not hurt it.
The body camera footage would later show exactly what happened that April 9th, 2023, on a sunny afternoon in Brooklyn, New York. A calm street corner, people walking by, the sound of buses in the distance. On a simple park bench sat Vanessa Green, a black woman in her late 30s. She wore dark sunglasses, held a white walking stick, and waited quietly for her bus. Moments later, a patrol car pulled up. An officer stepped out, hand resting on his holster, and called out, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Vanessa turned her head toward the voice. "Sir, I can't see you. I'm blind. I'm waiting for the bus." The officer glanced at her walking stick. "That looks like a weapon to me." Minutes later, that accusation would escalate into one of the most humiliating and costly mistakes in NYPD history. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light. April 9th, 2023 started as an ordinary Sunday in Brooklyn. Vanessa Green had lived in Crown Heights her entire life, 37 years old, an elementary school teacher, a daughter, a friend. She'd lost her sight gradually over the course of 5 years, a degenerative condition that doctors couldn't stop, only slow down. By the time she turned 32, the world had faded to shapes and light, shadows and sounds. But Vanessa had adapted. She learned to navigate her neighborhood with precision, counted steps from her apartment to the bodega, knew which streets had the smoothest sidewalks, could identify the bus by the pitch of its engine before it even reached her stop. That Sunday, she was heading to her mother's house in Bed-Stuy. Same routine as always. Walk 3 blocks to Fulton Street, catch the B25, ride for 15 minutes, get off at the corner near the old church. Simple. She left her apartment at 2:30 p.m., white cane tapping rhythmically against the pavement. The sun was warm on her face. She could hear children playing basketball in the park across the street, someone's music drifting from an open window, the hum of the city that had always been home. She reached the bus stop at 2:41 p.m. The bench was empty. She sat down, folded her cane across her lap, and waited. The bus wouldn't arrive for another 12 minutes. She didn't know it yet, but she'd never board that bus. At 2:43 p.m., someone across the street made a phone call. Later, the caller would be identified as Patricia Holmes, a 62-year-old resident who'd lived in the neighborhood for 3 years. She told the 911 operator that there was a suspicious woman sitting on a bench with what looked like a metal rod or weapon. The dispatcher asked for more details. Holmes said the woman looked out of place and might be casing the area. The dispatcher noted the location and sent out a call to nearby patrol units. At 2:46 p.m., Officer Michael Trent heard the dispatch on his radio. He was 3 blocks away, sitting in his patrol car, finishing paperwork from a traffic stop. 25 years old, 8 months on the job, eager to prove himself. He'd been raised in Staten Island, joined the academy right out of college. His evaluations noted him as highly vigilant and proactive, words that sounded like compliments but often meant something else. He heard the words suspicious person and possible weapon, and his mind immediately shifted into high alert. This was his chance. He started the engine and headed toward Fulton Street. Vanessa sat on the bench, head tilted slightly, listening to the world around her. She heard footsteps approaching, heavy, deliberate, not the rhythm of someone passing by, someone walking toward her. She turned her head in the direction of the sound. "Hello?" she said. No response. The footsteps stopped about 10 feet away. Then a voice, sharp, authoritative. "Hey, what are you doing here?" Vanessa's stomach tightened. Something about the tone felt wrong, aggressive, accusatory. "Sir," she said carefully, "I can't see you. I'm just waiting for the bus." There was a pause. She could hear breathing. Close. Too close. "What's that in your hand?" the voice demanded. Vanessa looked down, even though she couldn't see what she was holding. "My walking stick," she said. "I'm blind, sir. I use it to navigate." Another pause. Then, "Looks like a weapon to me." Vanessa's heart dropped. Officer Trent's body camera captured everything. The footage shows him standing about 8 feet from the bench, hand resting on his holster, eyes locked on the white cane across Vanessa's lap. In the video, you can see other people walking by. A man with groceries, a woman pushing a stroller. Nobody looks concerned. Nobody looks twice at Vanessa. But Trent sees something different. He steps closer. "Ma'am, I need you to put that down." Vanessa's hands tighten around the cane. "Sir, this is my mobility aid. I need it to walk. I'm blind." "I understand that," though his tone suggests he doesn't. "But I received a call about a suspicious person with a weapon, and right now, you match that description." Vanessa's voice shakes slightly. "A weapon? It's a walking stick. It has a reflective strip. It's registered with the city. I need to verify that. How can I verify something I can't see?" "Ma'am, just cooperate." Vanessa takes a slow breath. She's been in uncomfortable situations with police before, stopped and questioned more times than she can count, but never like this. Never with this much hostility over something so fundamental to her existence. "Officer," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "I'm telling you the truth. My name is Vanessa Green. I live 3 blocks from here. I'm a teacher. I'm waiting for my bus. This is my cane. I'm not doing anything wrong." Trent shifts his weight. His hand hasn't left his holster. "I'm going to need to see some ID. I don't carry a wallet when I travel alone. I keep everything on my phone. It's in my pocket. Don't reach for anything." "Then how do I show you ID?" The question hangs in the air. Across the street, a teenager named Marcus Riley is walking home from the corner store. He sees the patrol car, sees the officer standing over a woman on a bench. Something about the scene feels wrong. He pulls out his phone and starts recording.
Officer Michael Trent had been taught to trust his instincts. At the academy, instructors drilled it into every recruit. If something feels off, it probably is. Better to be cautious than sorry. Better to investigate than ignore. But what they didn't teach, or didn't teach well enough, was how to distinguish between instinct and assumption, between caution and paranoia, between vigilance and prejudice. Standing on that street corner, looking at Vanessa Green, Trent's instincts were screaming. Black woman, sitting alone, holding a long metal object, not making eye contact, giving vague answers about why she was there. Every box in his mental checklist was getting marked. He didn't see a blind woman waiting for a bus. He saw a threat. "Ma'am," he says, his voice hardening, "I'm going to ask you one more time. Put down the object." Vanessa's grip tightens on her cane. "It's not an object. It's my cane. I told you I'm blind. And I told you to put it down. If I put it down, I can't walk. I can't navigate. Do you understand that?" Trent takes another step forward. "What I understand is that you're refusing to comply with a lawful order." Vanessa's breath catches. This is escalating too fast. She can hear it in his voice, the shift from suspicion to anger. She knows this pattern. She's heard stories from friends, from family members, stories that don't end well. She tries a different approach, softer, calmer. "Officer, please, I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to explain.
I'm visually impaired. This cane is essential for me. It's not a weapon, it's a tool. It's how I exist in the world. Her words are measured, patient. The kind of de-escalation she's had to learn because the alternative is too dangerous. But Trent doesn't hear patience. He hears resistance. You're making this harder than it needs to be. I'm trying to make you understand. I understand perfectly. Then why are you treating me like a criminal? The question cuts through the moment. Trent's face flushes. I'm not. You approached me with your hand on your gun. You demanded I put down my mobility aid. You accused me of carrying a weapon. All I'm doing is sitting on a bench waiting for a bus. So yes, you're treating me like a criminal. Across the street, Marcus is still recording. He zooms in, making sure the footage is clear. A woman walking her dog stops on the corner, watching. She pulls out her phone, too. More people are starting to notice. Trent can feel eyes on him, can sense the shift in the atmosphere. He knows he's being watched, being recorded, and that knowledge makes him more defensive than less. Ma'am, stand up. Why? Because I'm telling you to. That's not a reason. It's all the reason you need. Vanessa doesn't move. She can't see the officer's face, can't read his body language, can't gauge how close he is to doing something irreversible. All she has is his voice. And right now, his voice is telling her she's in danger. Officer, please, she says quietly. I'm scaring me. Then comply.
I am complying. I'm sitting here. I'm talking to you. I haven't moved. What more do you want from me? I want you to follow instructions. His voice echoes down the block. People turn. Traffic slows. Trent realizes he's yelling. He tries to regain control, lowering his voice, but not his intensity. Last morning, he says, put down the stick and stand up. Now. Vanessa's hands are shaking. She can feel tears building behind her dark glasses, but she refuses to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of him. I can't stand without my cane, she says, her voice breaking slightly. Don't you understand? I can't see. For a split second, something flickers across Trent's face. Doubt, maybe, or recognition, but it passes too quickly. He reaches for his radio. Dispatch, I need backup at Fulton and Bedford. Subject refusing to comply. Copy that, Unit 12. Backup en route. She hears the radio crackle, hears the word backup, and knows this is about to get worse. Please, she whispers, please don't do this. But Officer Trent had already made his decision. He stepped forward, reaching for her arm, and that's when everything fell apart. Racist cop demands blind woman surrender her walking stick. Got slapped with $20 million lawsuit. Hook. The body camera footage would later show exactly what happened that April 9th, 2023, on a sunny afternoon in Brooklyn, New York. A calm street corner, people walking by, the sound of buses in the distance. On a simple park bench sat Vanessa Green, a black woman in her late 30s. She wore dark sunglasses, held a white walking stick, and waited quietly for her bus. Moments later, a patrol car pulled up. An officer stepped out, hand resting on his holster, and called out, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Vanessa turned her head toward the voice. "Sir, I can't see you. I'm blind. I'm waiting for the bus." The officer glanced at her walking stick. "That looks like a weapon to me." Minutes later, that accusation would escalate into one of the most humiliating and costly mistakes in NYPD history. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light.
April 9th, 2023 started as an ordinary Sunday in Brooklyn. Vanessa Breen had lived in Crown Heights her entire life. 37 years old, an elementary school teacher, a daughter, a friend. She'd lost her sight gradually over the course of 5 years, a degenerative condition that doctors couldn't stop, only slow down. By the time she turned 32, the world had faded to shapes and light, shadows and sounds. But Vanessa had adapted. She learned to navigate her neighborhood with precision, counted steps from her apartment to the bodega, knew which streets had the smoothest sidewalks, could identify the bus by the pitch of its engine before it even reached her stop. That Sunday, she was heading to her mother's house in Bed-Stuy. Same routine as always. Walk 3 blocks to Fulton Street, catch the B-25, ride for 15 minutes, and get off at the corner near the old church. Simple. She left her apartment at 2:30 p.m., white cane tapping rhythmically against the pavement. The sun was warm on her face. She could hear children playing basketball in the park across the street, someone's music drifting from an open window, the hum of the city that had always been home. She reached the bus stop at 2:41 p.m. The bench was empty. She sat down, folded her cane across her lap, and waited. The bus wouldn't arrive for another 12 minutes. She didn't know it yet, but she'd never board that bus. At 2:43 p.m., someone across the street made a phone call. Later, the caller would be identified as Patricia Holmes, a 62-year-old resident who'd lived in the neighborhood for 3 years. She told the 911 operator that there was a suspicious woman sitting on a bench with what looked like a metal rod or weapon. The dispatcher asked for more details. Holmes said the woman looked out of place and might be casing the area. The dispatcher noted the location and sent out a call to nearby patrol units. At 2:46 p.m., Michael Trent heard the dispatch on his radio. He was 3 blocks away, sitting in his patrol car, finishing paperwork from a traffic stop. 25 years old, 8 months on the job, eager to prove himself. He'd been raised in Staten Island, joined the academy right out of college. His evaluations noted him as highly vigilant and proactive, words that sounded like compliments but often meant something else. He heard the words suspicious person and possible weapon, and his mind immediately shifted into high alert. This was his chance. He started the engine and headed toward Fulton Street. Vanessa sat on the bench, head tilted slightly, listening to the world around her. She heard footsteps approaching, heavy, deliberate, not the rhythm of someone passing by, someone walking toward her. She turned her head in the direction of the sound. "Hello?" she said. No response. The footsteps stopped about 10 feet away. Then, a voice, sharp, authoritative. "Hey, what are you doing here?" Vanessa's stomach tightened. Something about the tone felt wrong, aggressive, accusatory. "Sir, I can't see you. I'm just waiting for the bus." There was a pause. She could hear breathing, close, too close. "What's not in your hand?" the voice demanded. Vanessa looked down, even though she couldn't see what she was holding. "My walking stick. I'm blind, sir. I use it to navigate." Another pause.
Looks like a weapon to me. Vanessa's heart dropped. Officer Trent's body camera captured everything. The footage shows him standing about 8 feet from the bench, hand resting on his holster, eyes locked on the white cane across Vanessa's lap. In the video, you can see other people walking by. A man with groceries. A woman pushing a stroller. Nobody looks concerned. Nobody looks twice at Vanessa. But Trent sees something different. He steps closer. "Ma'am, I need you to put that down." Vanessa's hands tightened around the cane. "Sir, this is my mobility aid. I need it to walk. I'm blind." "I understand that," Trent says, though his tone suggests he doesn't. "But I received a call about a suspicious person with a weapon, and right now you match that description." Vanessa's voice shakes slightly. "A weapon? It's a walking stick. It has a reflective strip. It's registered with the city. I need to verify that." "How can I verify something I can't see?" "Ma'am, just cooperate." Vanessa takes a slow breath. She's been in uncomfortable situations with police before, stopped and questioned more times than she can count, but never like this. Never with this much hostility over something so fundamental to her existence. "Officer," she says, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "I'm telling you the truth. My name is Vanessa Grain. I live 3 blocks from here. I'm a teacher. I'm waiting for my bus. This is my cane. I'm not doing anything wrong." Trent shifts his weight. His hand hasn't left his holster. I'm going to need to see some ID. I don't carry a wallet when I travel alone. I keep everything on my phone. It's in my pocket. Don't reach for anything. Then how do I show you ID? The question hangs in the air. Across the street, a teenager named Marcus Riley is walking home from the corner store. He sees the patrol car, sees the officer standing over a woman on a bench. Something about the scene feels wrong. He pulls out his phone and starts recording. Act 2. Suspicion and escalation. Officer Michael Trent had been taught to trust his instincts. At the academy, instructors drilled it into every recruit. If something feels off, it probably is. Better to be cautious than sorry. Better to investigate than ignore. But what they didn't teach, or didn't teach well enough, was how to distinguish between instinct and assumption, between caution and paranoia, between vigilance and prejudice. Standing on that street corner, looking at Vanessa Green, Trent's instincts were screaming. Black woman, sitting alone, holding a long metal object, not making eye contact, giving vague answers about why she was there. Every box in his mental checklist was getting marked. He didn't see a blind woman waiting for a bus. He saw a threat. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you one more time. Put down the object. Vanessa's grip tightens on her cane. Sir, this is my mobility aid. I need it to walk. I'm blind. I understand that, Trent says, though his tone suggests he doesn't. But I received a call about a suspicious person with a weapon, and right now you match that description. Vanessa's voice shakes slightly. A weapon? It's a walking stick. It has a reflective strip. It's registered with the city. I need to verify that. How can I verify something I can't see? Ma'am, just cooperate. Vanessa's breath catches. She's escalating too fast. She can hear it in his voice, the shift from suspicion to anger. She knows this pattern. She's heard stories from friends, from family members, stories that don't end well. She tries a different approach, softer, calmer. Officer, please. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to explain. I'm visually impaired. This cane is essential for me. It's not a weapon. It's a tool. It's how I exist in the world. Her words are measured, patient, the kind of de-escalation she's had to learn because the alternative is too dangerous. But Trent doesn't hear patience. He hears resistance. You're making this harder than it needs to be. I'm trying to make you understand. I understand perfectly. Then why are you treating me like a criminal? The question cuts through the moment. Trent's face flushes. I'm not. You approach me with your hand on your gun. You demanded I put down my mobility aid. You accused me of carrying a weapon. All I'm doing is sitting on a bench waiting for a bus. So yes, you're treating me like a criminal. Across the street, Marcus is still recording. He zooms in, making sure the footage is clear. A woman walking her dog stops on the corner, watching. She pulls out her phone too. More people are starting to notice. Trent can feel eyes on him, can sense the shift in the atmosphere. He knows he's being watched, being recorded, and that knowledge makes him more defensive, not less. Ma'am, stand up. Vanessa's body goes rigid. Why? Because I'm telling you to. That's not a reason. It's all the reason you need. Vanessa doesn't move. She can't see the officer's face, can't read his body language, can't gauge how close he is to doing something irreversible. All she has is his voice. And right now, his voice is telling her she's in danger. Officer, she says quietly, you're scaring me. Then comply. I am complying. I'm sitting here. I'm talking to you. I haven't moved. What more do you want from me? I want you to follow instructions. His voice echoes down the block. People turn. Traffic slows. Trent realizes he's yelling. He tries to regain control, lowering his voice, but not his intensity. Last warning, he says. Put down the stick and stand up. Now. Vanessa's hands are shaking. She can feel tears building behind her dark glasses, but she refuses to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of him. I can't stand without my cane, she says, her voice breaking slightly. Don't you understand? I can't see. For a split second, something flickers across Trent's face. Doubt, maybe, or recognition, but it passes too quickly. He reaches for his radio. Dispatch, I need backup at Fulton and Bedford. Subject refusing to comply. Copy that, Unit 12, back up en route. Vanessa hears the radio crackle, hears the word backup, and knows this is about to get worse. Please, please don't do this. But Officer Trent has already made his decision. He steps forward, reaching for her arm. And that's when everything falls apart. Act 3. The violation. The body camera footage from this moment would later be analyzed frame by lawyers, activists, disability advocates, and the media. Everyone would see the same thing. Officer Michael Trent, hand outstretched, grabs Vanessa Green's left arm just above the elbow. His grip is tight, controlling, the kind of hold designed to move someone whether they want to move or not. Vanessa gasps. "Sir!" "Stand up," Trent commands, pulling upward. Vanessa tries to stand, but her cane is still across her lap, and without it in position, she has no balance, no orientation. She stumbles, her free hand reaching out reflexively for something to steady herself. She finds nothing but air. "Please, please, I can't see." Her cane clatters to the ground, rolling across the sidewalk with a hollow metallic sound that the body camera microphone picks up with painful clarity. "Stop resisting," Trent shouts. "I'm not resisting. You're hurting me." From across the street, Marcus's voice cuts through. "Yo, she's blind, man, she's blind." Another voice joins in. "Leave her alone." Trent ignores them. He's committed now. In his mind, he's crossed a threshold. If he backs down now, he looks weak. If he admits he made a mistake, he looks incompetent. So he doubles down. He pulls harder, trying to force Vanessa to her feet. She's crying now, tears streaming down her face behind her dark glasses. "You don't have to do this, officer," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not a threat. I'm not dangerous. I'm just trying to catch a bus." For a moment, just a fraction of a second, Trent's hand loosens because he hears it, the raw truth in her voice, the absence of aggression, the presence of fear. He sees her face, really sees it, and realizes she's terrified, not defiant, not resisting, terrified. But the moment passes. His radio crackles. Backup is 2 minutes out. He needs this situation under control before they arrive. Needs to be able to say he handled it. Needs to justify the call he made. "Turn around," he says, reaching for his handcuffs. Vanessa's entire body goes stiff. "No, no, please. You're being detained for obstruction." "Obstruction of what?" "Turn around." Vanessa's hand brushes against Trent's badge as she tries to steady herself. Her fingers find the cold metal, the engraved numbers, the symbol of authority that's supposed to mean protection. She holds on to it for just a second, and in that second, she says something that will be quoted in every news article, every court document, every social media post about this incident. "You don't have to treat me this way, officer. I'm not a threat." Her voice is soft, pleading, human, and it breaks something in the people watching. The woman with the dog steps forward. "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" Marcus is still recording, phone raised high. "This is police brutality. Y'all seeing this?" More people gather, a small crowd forming on the corner. Witnesses. Trent realizes he's surrounded. Not physically. He's still the one with the badge and the gun. But socially, digitally. Every phone is a camera. Every camera is evidence. His hands drop from Vanessa's arm. She sinks back onto the bench, sobbing quietly, her hands searching the ground for her cane. Someone picks it up and hands it to her. A man's voice, gentle. "Here you go, miss. You okay?" Vanessa takes the cane, holding it against her chest like a lifeline. "Thank you," she whispers. Trent stands there frozen, his mind racing. He can hear his heartbeat in his ears, can feel the weight of the mistake settling on his shoulders. His radio crackles again. "Unit 12, backup is on scene." Another patrol car pulls up. 2 officers step out, taking in the scene. A crowd of people, phones recording, a woman crying on a bench, and Trent standing there looking like he's just woken up from a nightmare. One of the officers, a woman maybe 10 years older than Trent, approaches him. "What's going on here, Trent?" He opens his mouth, closes it, tries again. I thought she had a weapon." The senior officer looks at Vanessa, looks at the white cane with its reflective strip, looks at the dark glasses. "She's blind," the officer says quietly. Trent's voice cracks. I know now." The senior officer's expression hardens. "Get back to your vehicle." "But now." Trent walks back to his patrol car, his body camera still recording, capturing every humiliating step. The senior officer approaches Vanessa, kneeling down to her level. "Ma'am, I am so sorry. Are you hurt?" Vanessa shakes her head, even though her arm is throbbing where Trent grabbed her. "Can we call someone for you? Family? A friend?" "My mother," Vanessa says, her voice hollow. "I was going to see my mother." The officer helps Vanessa call her mother, who arrives 20 minutes later, furious and terrified. By then, Trent is long gone, back at the precinct, sitting in silence, staring at his hands, and Marcus's video is already uploading to Twitter.
The video goes viral in 6 hours. By midnight, it has 3 million views. By Monday morning, it's on every major news network in the country. NYPD officer accuses blind woman's cane of being a weapon. Brooklyn woman assaulted by police while waiting for a bus. Another day, another case of racial profiling. The hashtags spread like wildfire. Hashtag her cane not a weapon and hashtag justice for Vanessa. Disability rights organizations issue statements. Civil rights groups demand accountability. The mayor's office scrambles to respond. The NYPD releases a statement Monday afternoon. "We are aware of an incident involving a visually impaired citizen in Brooklyn. The matter is under internal review, and we are committed to ensuring accountability and transparency." The statement is met with immediate backlash. One Twitter user responds, "Under review, she's blind. He grabbed her. What is there to review?" Another, "This is what ableism looks like. This is what racism looks like. This is what happens when we don't train cops properly." By Tuesday, the story has reached national prominence. CNN runs a segment titled, "When Mobility Aids Are Mistaken for Weapons." Fox News brings in a panel to debate whether the officer acted reasonably. MSNBC interviews disability advocates who explain, with painful patience, what a white cane is and why it's protected under federal law. Vanessa Green doesn't speak publicly at first. She's too shaken, too exhausted. She stays home from work, stops answering her phone, sits in her apartment with the curtains drawn, replaying the incident over and over in her mind. Her mother, Lorraine, stays with her, makes her tea, holds her when she cries. "I just wanted to catch the bus," Vanessa says one night, her voice breaking. "I wasn't doing anything wrong." "I know, baby. I know." On Wednesday, Vanessa's attorney holds a press conference. His name is David Chen, a civil rights lawyer with a reputation for taking on high-profile cases against police departments. He stands at a podium outside the Brooklyn courthouse, Vanessa seated beside him, her mother on her other side. Chen speaks first. "My client, Vanessa Green, is a 37-year-old elementary school teacher. She is a beloved member of her community. She is blind, and on April 9th, while simply waiting for a bus, she was assaulted by Officer Michael Trent of the NYPD. He pauses, letting the weight of the words settle. Officer Trent approached Miss Green without cause. He demanded she surrender her mobility aid, a federally protected assistive device. When she explained that she was blind and needed her cane to navigate, he ignored her. He grabbed her. He tried to detain her. He treated her humanity as a threat. Chen's voice sharpens. This is not just about one officer's bad judgment. This is about a system that fails to train officers to recognize disability, that fails to protect the most vulnerable members of our society, that allows bias, racial bias, ableist bias to dictate who deserves dignity and who doesn't. He looks directly at the cameras. Today, we are filing a $20 million civil rights lawsuit against the City of New York and Officer Michael Trent. We are seeking not just compensation for Miss Green's trauma, but systemic reform. We are demanding mandatory disability awareness training for every officer in the NYPD. We are demanding accountability. The press erupts with questions. Chen raises a hand. Ms. Green would like to say a few words. Vanessa leans toward the microphone. Her hands are folded in her lap, her cane resting against her chair. She's wearing her dark glasses, but her face is visible, exhausted, emotional, but resolute. She speaks quietly, but every word carries weight. I didn't want this attention. I didn't want to be on the news. I didn't want to file a lawsuit. I just wanted to catch a bus. Her voice cracks slightly, but she continues. But what happened to me can't be ignored, because I know I'm